Hi, I'm Garrison Williams, owner of Tide Yacht Sales in Orange County, dedicated to offering the best new boats for sale the industry has to offer. Check out this video featuring a new Everglades 340 DC currently listed for $200,000 off MSRP. The luxury, style, and performance you get only from an Everglades boat is now just $455. Truly a deal of a lifetime. We've eliminated the depreciation factor of buying a new boat. Take a look at this video for details on the 340 DC.
The Everglades 340 DC, powered by a pair of Yamaha's new 425 horsepower XTO offshore outboards. Let's start in the cockpit, where we see examples of the versatility designed into the 340 DC. Here, we can see what the cockpit deck looks like with and without the standard Infinity deck covering. Starting with the aft seats that fold out of the transom, we note sturdy stainless steel supports, and there are several upholstery designs available. The portside transom seat can be replaced by an L-shaped lounge to expand passenger capacity for entertaining, creating U-shaped seating in the cockpit. The cockpit has 45 square feet of wide open space. Cockpit depth is 31 inches. The fiberglass cap rail is 8 inches wide. At about a midships to port, this seat is 38 inches wide, and the hinged bottom cushion opens to access a 97-quart cooler. Behind the seat back, we find the battery switches with electrical breakers above. A side-mount cafe table creates an intimate place. In the bulwarks, 4 cup holders all have drains. Notice that both here and forward in the gunnel cubbies, Everglades mounts the 12-volt and USB connectivity plugs inside. As we'll see throughout the boat, the hatch opens on a stainless steel gas strut and it closes on a rattle, eliminating thick rubber gasket. To starboard, the cockpit wet bar with sink is set into a solid surface countertop. An electric grill is beneath a sliding top, and just below is a slide-out trash basket on stainless steel rollers. Inboard, there's a refrigerated drawer and a rail is provided for security. And to the right are the Fusion 770 JL M-Series speakers and subwoofer. To facilitate cleanups, the freshwater washdown connection is down low to starboard. The fish box in the stern has dividers and a 71-gallon capacity. Hatch details include a stainless steel gas strut and an extra thick rubber gasket. The raw water washdown connection is aft to port. To starboard in the stern is a 24-gallon blue live well with rounded corners, lighted, aerated, and pressurized to protect bait in rough conditions. Because it can be used for so many different things, Everglades calls this hatch in the starboard hull side a utility door. When opened, it secures with a magnetic catch, and as it swings inward, it can be used for boarding from a floating dock, diving, swimming, or hauling in fish. Note the hardware for mounting the reboarding ladder, which is stowed forward. There's a single hatch that opens in the cockpit deck to provide access to the 340 DC's finished bilge. On the underside of the hatch is dedicated stowage for the cafe table. Fuel filters and priming bulbs are together. All hoses are double clamped with red plastic safety guards. Borrowing technology from bigger yachts, Everglades uses a single sea chest for its raw water systems. This eliminates the multiple through hulls, reducing them to a single outlet, and makes it easier to plumb the boat. Transducers and bilge pumps are in the keel, and note that the automatic bilge pumps have actuators that won't clog or get stuck. The diesel generator is placed aft, and there's room for a Seakeeper 3 gyro stabilizer. Aft, this 16-inch wide passageway leads from the cockpit to the swim platform, and notice that it opens out for quick dewatering in an emergency offshore. It's also a 10-inch step from the cockpit deck, and there's a pull-out shower in the transom. The swim platform extends aft 33 inches on each side, and forward of the motors is a 9-inch wide catwalk with the outboard hoses and wires and tubes that go under, eliminating a tripping hazard. To starboard, in the trailing edge of the stern, is an emergency reboarding ladder as required by ABYC standards that can be pulled out by a person in the water and deployed. To port is a locker that can be used for a stern anchor or for wet bathing suits. Overall, the boat has a relatively high freeboard of 52 inches forward and 40 inches aft. The hardtop has 6 feet 8 inches of headroom, and its features include 2 forward lights over the helm that can be made red, white, or blue, 2 opening skylights, aft lights, and mounting points for optional outriggers. There are also speakers in the hardtop and a track for installing an enclosure. A switch at the helm activates the Make Fast aft cockpit shade. Everglades fabricates the powder-coated hardtop frame in-house. Outboard on each side are a pair of rod holders, and LED spreader lights are overhead. The 22-foot carbon fiber outriggers can be raised and spread with stainless steel cranks to the desired position. Also mounted on the hardtop is an LED light bar facing forward. But the most important aspect of the hardtop is that it adds so much utility to the boat. The top connects to the windshield, so there's no need for isinglass forward. On chilly days, it makes the cockpit cozy, and by adding cruising canvas, it makes the boat a 3-season vessel. Moving forward, to port, the lounge has seating for one person facing forward, 2 people facing the helm, or one person can stretch out and face aft as a spotter for water sports, or just relax. If 2 people want to sit facing forward, fold the side cushion into the gunnel, take off the seat cushion and open the hatch, we find a mesh storage bag with a structured bottom. This would be a good place to stow a dozen life jackets. Take the bag out and we find a screwed down acrylic lid over the 3 ship's batteries. Note the hardware for a side mount table in front of the companion seat. Above the top of the port console, we find a handy sunken matted tray for stuff and a skylight to the cabin below. To starboard, the helm has a compass on the wheel's centerline. Below are 2 Garmin 16-inch GPS map XSV screens. The left screen is showing the radar scan, but as you can see with a couple of intuitive touches, we can switch to the engine diagnostics. Accessory switches light when activated and are grouped by function. Below the wheel are the ignitions and battery switches. To the right of the wheel is the Yamaha binnacle with the trim tabs just forward, and to the left is the helm master joystick with set point. The wheel is mounted to a tilt base. To keep from kicking the VHF radio, we locate it to this position outboard of the controls. To the right is a tray for small items, a cup holder, and below is a tilt-out glove box. Above the helm is the Yamaha Helm Master display, but we prefer to see it in the Garmin screen below. To the right is the VHF speaker and the AC control. The 34-inch double-wide helm seat has a folding bolster and armrests. Beneath the wheel is the angled footrest, and on the deck is the fatigue-reducing matting and deck that Everglades was one of the first to introduce. In the base of the helm seat is a pull-out wastebasket. Just ahead of the helm is the entry to the head, which is easy to get into because of the cutout overhead. There are 2 steps down to the teak deck. It has 5 feet 4 inches of headroom and 3 feet 11 inches of seated headroom. A teak bench drops over the toilet to provide a place to sit down when using the wet head pull-up shower wand. On the opposite bulkhead from the electric toilet is the flush button and the macerator pump switch. There's storage behind the medicine cabinet's mirrored door. The counter is dark-colored solid surface, and the same material is used on the ledge above with a proper fiddle. The white ceramic vessel sink contrasts with the counter and is sunk into it. The wood grain cabinets below and the teak deck gives the head an upscale feel. Switches for the head accessories are clearly labeled, and twin hatches provide access to the helm rigging. Overhead is a smoked glass skylight to keep the head bright. In the port console, there's another easy-to-enter hatch to the 340's cabin, with 2 steps down. It has a settee, a teak deck, and wood grain cabinets fore and aft. There's 5 feet 4 inches of headroom, and there's 3 feet 9 inches of sitting headroom. Our test boat's cabin had a single berth, but by moving the backrest over, a double berth can be created that measures 72 inches by 42 inches. Future models will have the slide-out cushion, creating a double. There's a 20-inch TV and the skylight overhead. In a small cabinet aft, there's a battery switch and breakers. There were 2 reverse cycle air conditioning systems on our boat, one for the cabin and the head and another for the bridge deck, which can be enclosed. When the time comes to head forward to the bow, open the air dam and press a button on the dash, and the center windshield slides open electrically. No big piece of glass to manhandle. And when it comes time to close it, the seal is snug. But before we move forward, let's inspect what's under the 2 deck hatches in the passageway. One includes the water tank, the hot water heater, and the gray water sump with red cleanout port. The forward storage includes dedicated space for the bow table pedestal on the hatch bottom, and below is where the utility door ladder lives. But we'd like to see it stowed aft. Moving past the windshield, we discover an unusual place to attach the 30-amp shore power cords. Just below the windshield and the pantograph windshield wiper are 2 smart plug outlets that are safer, easier to operate, and make a more water-resistant connection than conventional shore power connections in the stern. Clearance is 28 inches between the consoles, and the distance between the seats forward of the console is 25 inches. In the bow, there's wraparound seating with 21-inch deep seat backs, all padded, and the cockpit is 38 inches deep. There are angled backrests on the front of each console. The round table in the bow is classy. The pedestal base is side mount, and when in place it makes the bow a more versatile area. There are folding armrests inboard on each side with smaller armrests outboard, plus the bolster rest and a handrail reachable on deck. In the gunnels there are cup holders, speakers, and connectivity points. We like the optional 6-foot 2-inch high Mediterranean sun awning available for the bow, which attaches at the hardtop brow in 2 places, plus on 2 stainless steel poles amidships and 2 more poles that fit into the rod holders in the bow. There are port and starboard storage compartments under the lounge seats, and the forward compartment contains an insulated self-draining beverage cooler. The foredeck has cleats and combination rod and cup holders. The foredeck is covered in non-skid, and beneath this hatch, all of the ground tackle systems come standard. Profish windlass, safety cable, raw water washdown, remote control, and good access to the road. Everglades also includes a centerline cleat for the road, something some builders just forget about. Now let's head on the water and see how the 340 DC performs with those new 425 horsepower Yamaha outboards. She's 36 feet 1 inch long with an 11-foot 1 inch beam, and she draws 32 1/4 inches with the motors down. Empty weight is listed at 13,000 pounds without power. With 2 people, 140 gallons of fuel, test equipment, and power on board, we had an estimated test weight of 16,164 pounds. Spooling up those big outboards to 6,100 RPM at wide open throttle, we hit a top speed of 53.4 miles per hour. We recorded best cruise at 3,500 RPM, where the 340 DC ran 27.8 miles per hour and burned 24.2 gallons per hour. That translates to 1.3 miles per gallon and a range of 346 statute miles, all while holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 300-gallon total fuel capacity. In acceleration test, the 340 DC planed in 3.2 seconds, ran through 20 miles per hour in 5.3 seconds, and 30 came and went in 8 seconds. We really didn't encounter conditions that could give us a fair idea of the boat's ride or handling in snotty conditions. The 340 DC felt smooth and solid when we crossed our photo boat's wakes, but a more extreme test will have to wait for another day. Her dead rise at the transom is 20 degrees, and her average dead rise from bow to stern is 30 degrees. The Everglades 340 DC is a big, luxury-oriented dual console with features that can meet the many needs of a boating family that wants a premium-built boat with virtually everything about her done right and with best practices. She's clearly built to last.
Go online to TideYachtSales.com. That's TideYachtSales.com. Tide Yacht Sales, keeping OC's finest on the water.